everybody. Alrighty then. Welcome to the Mikestand. Today, of course, um is Monday, March the 2nd. So we're now into March here. Hopefully everybody's having a good start to the week, as we will be so of course, as always, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. If you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Now, as I said, we're just waiting on people to show up. So hopefully so yeah, I decided to have a chance to watch some cartoons today. Got actually through 15 of them basically just barely before getting started on the show here. So, of course, some Looney Tunes stuff. Some, let's see, Hollywood Daffy, Kitty Cornered, Acrobatic Bunny. You know, three cartoons that came out in June of next. Where you take from Warner Brothers, a couple of Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. Of course, the Tom and a couple of MGM cartoons, the Hick Chick and Trap Happy. Of course, Trap Happy was the Tom and Jerry one. You had couple of famous studio, let's see. We had novel tunes featuring Blackie the sheep and Wolfie the wolf. Had Popeye cartoon Peep in the Deep, in which Popeye tried to help Olive Oil recover sunken treasure. Let's see, we had Color Rhapsody featuring Tito and his burrito. Now, I know you guys are hearing me say burrito, and you probably think I'm talking about that wrapped kind of Mexican food. That's not what I'm talking about. Burrito in Spanish translates to little burro, a little donkey, basically a little mule. That's what burrito means in this particular context. So, let's see. I saw a Woody Woodpecker cartoon. Who's cooking who? Kind of similarities to, of course, one of his earlier cartoons, Pantry Panic. Let's see. Okay, saw some. Obviously saw the first. Well, obviously saw the first post World War II Mickey Mouse cartoon, Squatters' Rights, featuring Mickey, Pluto, and Chip and Dale, and Donald's Double Trouble. But with that being said, let's talk about what's on tap for tonight. So I've got a couple articles I'm going to go over. One from Bounding into Comics, one from Bleeding Full. Of course, we got some more localization news as Crunchyroll is apparently inserting internet slang, I believe. Let's see. Insert online slang and memes into dead account anime English dub. And also, Marvel is once again doubling down on its DEI stuff. We'll see the latest in that regard. We'll also get caught up in all the latest in the world of pro wrestling, as of course, Elimination Chamber happened this week. We'll go over the results of that, as well as the lead up to it, as there were some changes made on Friday, most notably Jey Uso getting taken out and ultimately being replaced in the chamber match by Logan Paul. And then and we'll talk a bit about all that as well. And then And then with after that, of course, we'll get caught up in all the latest or we'll get caught. Well, then we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So, with all that being said, again, if you guys haven't, if you guys can help out by liking, sharing the stream, so we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Check in here, and then we will be reading. All right, so let's go ahead and get started then. Oh, the first article up. We'll go over this evening here. There it is. Now, Crunchyroll, as many of you know, is basically the company that ended up buying out Funimation. So a lot of people involved here are people based in Dallas. They're the ones who basically got Vic blacklisted, from a lot of the mainstream, dubbing companies. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at this then. Crunchyroll localizers insert online slang and memes into dead account anime English dub. Let's get into this here. All right. So, despite raising their membership fees, Crunchyroll has yet to address the platform's countless problems, including the alarming amount of in-house botched localization, with the latest incident consisting of the English language dub for Dead Account. And we did talk about Sentai Filmworks insertions as well. So, anyways, based on Shizumu Watanabe's modern take on the Exorcist genre, Dead Account. Dead Account follows the Exorcist of Miden Academy, who hunt social media based aberrations called ghost accounts, a dead person's social media account getting possessed by a ghost. The possessed account can only be exorcised using a smartphone based exorcist power known as cyberkinesis. Par the course with any Japanese property consisting of any type of social media, Crunchyroll's in-house English language dub localizers could not resist rewriting the original Japanese dialogue in favor of dated Zoomer internet slang and memes. The first incident occurs in the anime's premiere episode, the Ultimate Flame Bearer, Flame Baiter. Interesting way to say flame there. When Flame Bait MyTuber Soji Enishiro is basking in the glory of his latest successful stream for his Oningo MyTube channel. MyTube as opposed to YouTube, I guess. um, I guess as a way of just differentiating the real world from their own universe. In Kodansha's official localization of Shizumu Watanabe original manga, the infamous flame bait MyTuber declares, "Nice, now chat's really heating up." Crunchyroll's in-house English language subtitles are roughly consistent with Watanabe's dialogue, which includes lines like, "Lots of rage burning here." However, the localizers for Crunchyroll's separate in-house English language dub took creative liberties by replacing the flame-related dialogue in favor of chronically online Zoomer slang, cope, seethe, and mauled viewers. The next incident occurs 1 month following the aforementioned stream after MyTube taking down Soji's Aringo channel. Among the rumors surrounding MyTube's decision include a passerby who wonders if Aringo was abducted by the mysterious Miden Academy that has been rumored to use torture techniques to reform smartphone addicted kids. In addition, those who walk through Miden's door are never heard from again. In Kodansha's official localization of Shizumu Watanabe's original manga, the passerby's companion responds, quote, "That's just an urban legend, dude." Crunchyroll's in-house localization for the anime's English language subtitles are consistent with the manga. That's got to be an urban legend. The streaming platform's in-house English dub localization team, however, rewrote the script in favor of a very dated internet meme. Quote, "Sounds like a bad creepypasta." Oh boy, yeah, yeah. The thing is that sometimes when localizers choose to do this kind of thing, it it does kind of mess up the rhythm of what the original intent was. Throwing stuff in there just to fill your own ideological bent is not what fans really want. The next incident occurs in episode 4, quote unquote, the worst possible trio. During the tail end of Soji's first team up mission to clear out the cyber ghost haunting Pig Camera Store with fellow Miden Academy exorcist Kukuru Kasabata and Kiyomi Urusugawa. On the final floor of the building, the trio encounter an unexpected cursed mid-level ghost account, Kirika-chan. After attempting to capture it with her slime, the ghost account breaks out and reaches out to capture Urusugawa. In Crunchyroll's in-house localization for the English subtitles of the anime original dialogue, electronic aberration screeches so photogenic, quote unquote. The anime streaming platform's in-house English dub localization team made the creative decision to replace the dialogue with even more chronically online slang. Quote, "Oh my girl, oh my OMG girl slay." All right. Again, doesn't seem to make much sense going from so photogenic to OMG girl slay. Okay, what pray tell? How does that make any sense? Oh, and Kirika-chan is voiced, I guess, by um, Monica Rial, while Kiyomi Urugawa is voiced in English by Hayden Davia. The next incident occurs later in the episode and consists of both of Crunchyroll's in-house localization teams inserting slang into Kirika-chan's dialogue. The angry mid-level ghost account is retaliating against Urusugawa, calling her ugly by breaking her arm. In Kodansha's localization of Watanabe's manga, Kirika-chan shrieks, quote unquote, "Who are you calling ugly? Can't you see how beautiful I am?" Unquote. Crunchyroll's in-house localization team revised the Ghost Account's dialogue in English subtitles. Quote unquote, "Who are you calling uggo? I'm totes photogenic." Yeah, that doesn't seem to make much sense. Japanese are more proper. I mean, again, this is a case where they're inserting slang that people just don't need in there. I mean, if anything, the slang just almost makes them sound uneducated, illiterate to begin with. The anime streaming platform's English dub localization team, however, took it a step further. Quote, "That wasn't very nice, was it? Don't be jelly just because I'm serving." Oh, God. Ugh. The next incident is set after the mid-level curse has been provoked by Soji and Kukuru. Even further, Kirika-chan um, threatens the duo with cruel artistic punishment she has in store for them. Cruel artistic. What does that mean? Cruel artistic punishment. What is she gonna show him bad paintings or something like that? How? I mean, what kind of dubious thing is that? Cruel artistic punishment. I don't know if either they just are like they're having a brain fart on their vocabulary or what. I would think cruel sadistic punishment might be more apropos, but um anyways, as we continue on here, of course. In Kodansha's localization of Watanabe's original manga dialogue, the Ghost account, describes her latest masterpiece, consisting of stringing the boys' heads between, oh boy, between Urusugawa and, oh boy, what, talk about fan service. Quote, best customization yet, even better than the time I customized a 5-year-old girl. Oh boy, that might get a little spicy. Customize a 5-year-old girl. Oh boy. Followed by the aberration launching her attack at Soji, screeching, Dolly! Crunchyroll's in-house localization team for the English subtitles, she describes her customization as, quote, even better than that little girl I messed up photogenically before, unquote. Followed by the aberration launching her attack, screeching, let's get photogenic. The anime streaming platform's English language dub localization team continued to memify the original Japanese dialogue. Quote, it'll definitely top the one with that girly pop that I hardcore yassified before. Oh God. It's funny because Montreal led a group of her fellow voice actors and see her screeching at how Vic was supposed to be some kind of CP'er, right? You would think that with the way, with the some of the localization they're doing here, you would think that Monica Rial and that little group that basically got Vic um, blacklisted, canceled, whatever. You would think they were the CP'ers, if you get what I mean. Parker Gray, Yama. With in turn the aberration launching her attack on the duo, screaming "Slay!" The final incident occurs in both Crunchyroll's in-house English subtitles as well as in the dub. Episode 5, The Anachronistic Exorcist. After exorcising Kirika-chan, the situation took a turn for the worst with the appearance of Sad Boy K. When all looked lost, their teacher, Yoimaru Azaki, intervened with his analog psychokinesis to rescue the trio and began his clash with the high-level ghost account. As he continued to show his impressive skills against Sad Boy K, Soji inquired his comrades on Azaki Sensei's cyberkinetic powers. In Kodansha's official localization of the Shizumu Watanabe manga, quote, the genius spirit medium Yoimaru Azaki ranked among the best of the best at a young age. At just 18, he exorcised a demon in smaller quote, Gwen Tabaki, and became a living legend. Crunchyroll's in-house localization team for the anime's subtitles had Urusugawa describe Azaki Sensei's status as, quote, apparently it earned him the super cringe title, The Living Legend. How could Living Legend be a super cringe? The anime streaming platform's English dub localization team had Urusugawa expanded on Azaki Sensei's legend, was apparently, quote, apparently defeating it earned him the title of Living Legend, which is super cringe if you know the guy. Um, all right, yeah. So we've been seeing this a lot lately, where where a lot of these Western companies are just taking liberties here with the localizations. Maybe too much liberty, as it were. Again, a friendly reminder every day, of course, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Goes for both my Rumble and um, YouTube channels. So, anyways, let's now go ahead and go take a look. Let me see if we can go find. Let me go grab the other article here. I'll just switch this out for now for a moment till I come back. And with the title of this article, I would have thought that it would have been an Avi article, but apparently it's not Avi this time. It's James and Ashley here for this latest critique of um, of Marvel's hiring practices, as it were. I would have thought it would have been Avi, but actually haven't really seen an article from Avi in about at least a couple months here. Hope everything's all right. Well, I guess because I think if he lives over in Israel, if things are really kind of getting hot and heavy over there right now, I guess that's probably why he hasn't been um, really you know um, submitting anything of late. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this article then. So, why Marvel keeps boosting DEI hire Justina Ireland despite flops. Article published by Jameson Ashley, published today, March 2nd. All right, so here we go. Marvel Comics has handed activist author Justina Ireland another high-profile assignment, tapping her to write "What If Radioactive Spider Bit Jessica Jones" for the 8-issue "What If" 50th anniversary one-shot series launching in July. The latest gig comes amid fan frustration with her recent work, reigniting questions about her influence across publishing and entertainment. So, and here's, I guess, a tweet from. So back in the 2010s, Ireland positioned herself at the center of why I guess that's young adult Twitter's culture wars, earning praise from outlets like Vulture as the genre's quote unquote leading warrior. The profile highlighted her viral threads targeting white authors, diversity panels, and her blunt warning to writers handle minorities characters right or quote I'ma tell you unquote if they quote f's it up unquote. Publishers took note with editors describing a quote unquote culture of fear where her critiques could force books into revision, like Kara Drake's The Continent, labeled a quote unquote racist garbage fire and pulled within a week. Kind of wonder if this Justina Ireland, if her books actually sell. What followed was a shift in young adult from blockbusters like Twilight, The Maze Runner, and Divergent to messaging heavy titles prioritizing identity politics over broad appeal. Ireland amplified this by launching a quote unquote sensitivity reader database. Oh brother. Oh brother, this stuff sounds pretty ridiculous. Where hundreds of authors paid for vetting to avoid accusations of quote unquote internalized bias. Why? Who gives a poop? Why let this kind of woman have that kind of power over you? You know? That's why I think why a lot of people have just gone the independent route because they don't need this garbage, right? A lot of people have found success on the independent route, going the independent route. They don't need this kind of garbage from companies or from people like this Justina Ireland. Critics saw she was exerting control, not elevating representation. In response, she dismissed any pushback as racism, even as her tactics drew threats and hurt her own sales. Well, if it's hurting her own sales, why? Again, Marvel is shrinking just because she's crying racism. She's playing victim, and then she expects people to just fall in line. No, people, we have to start pushing back on this kind of garbage. Don't let somebody like this control your life. All right? It's ridiculous. She's ridiculous. Rather than dial back, the entertainment institutions elevated her. Ireland became a core, quote, story architect, unquote, for Disney's Star Wars The High Republic initiative, shaping its lore with the same ideological lens that dominated YA, young adults. Her bio touts key roles across multiple titles, signaling Lucasfilm's embrace of that worldview. Yet the era's flagship, Star Wars The Acolyte, alienated fans as preachy and disconnected. costing over $230 million net, $180 million post credits, before cancellation, which was no small hit to shareholders. So essentially, they still keep elevating her even though she's costing them money. That's a bright business move, isn't it? Yeah, let be, because you're so afraid that she's gonna call you an istorophobe. Yeah, let's just start burning money. That's what you're basically doing. You're burning money when you listen to people like this. Man, she looks megalomaniacal right there. That face looks like a megalomaniacal individual. The pattern persists in comics. Marvel assigned her to co-write Amazing Spider-Man's quote, 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, unquote, arc, despite her limited prior credits, drawing complaints of, quote, stunningly poor pacing, unquote, in issues like number 68, storylines feel messy, momentum lags, and fans question if hires prioritize media approval over the heroic Peter Parker tales they expect. Is Marvel serving readers or activist networks? Well, it kind of sounds like to me they're serving activist networks, and it's going to ultimately cost them. The trajectory from young adult enforcer to franchise architect to Marvel regular exposes a broader entertainment trend. Publishers chased Twitter approval, watched YA sales crater, young adult. Star Wars bet on the formula, burned cash. Now comics test the same waters. Disney's corporate rhetoric clearly still frames it as DEI progress, but declining box office and sales charts reveal fans are fleeing. Ireland's promotions, amid flop after flop, raises the stakes even higher. Will Marvel Comics ever go back to siding with their core audience over ideology? I mean, you almost have to wonder what it's going to take. Excuse me a moment. I need to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. Let me just go ahead and put some music on while I'm gone here. Yeah, I forgot to do that too. All right, I'm back. So, anyways, oh yeah. So, I mean, just how long is it going to take before they realize that there's a losing proposition for them to continue doing this? You know, how much money are they going to have to? Are they going to have to go bankrupt before? And then, yeah, that little megalomaniacal woman there is laughing it up now. But what would happen if Marvel went bust and she didn't have that job anymore? What happens if a lot of these corporations went bust, and they really just and woke was to blame for it? We they coined a phrase when all this was starting like 4 or 5 years ago, six, maybe going on 6 years ago there, go woke, go broke, basically, right? And you see that, coming out here. So, anyways, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead now. We're going to get ready to move on to the next piece of, or move on to the next segment here. The wrestling wrap up. We'll look back over this past weekend's activities. Look back to Friday Night SmackDown, as it was a go home SmackDown before Elimination Chamber. We'll look at Elimination Chamber, as well as looking at Collision. As now Collision's about a couple of weeks more until Revolution. They continue to build towards that as well. And of course, now WWE will start its final push towards this year's WrestleMania 42, coming up on the weekend of April 18th and 19th, as it were. So. Alrighty then. So let me just. And I guess since also, of course, AAA down in Mexico is kind of, you got WE superstars down there as well. Might as well also talk a little bit about what's going on down there too with some of the talent. Because I should start looking at that more often too. But anyways, on this past Friday Night SmackDown, as we get started here, looking back over what's happened over the weekend here. Coming from the KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky, with Wade Barrett and Joe Testore on commentary, and Chelsea Green at one point joining Cass as well. So prior to the event, Jey Uso got attacked and essentially taken out of the Elimination Chamber, much to many fans' delight, as a lot of people. Now, of course, what happened was Jey Uso, they ended up having to change that match on the fly back last Monday, as Bronson Reed had got hurt, and therefore that's why Jey had won the match. But it was never planned for Jey to actually be involved in the Elimination Chamber. So they took him out, and we'll talk about how they rectified that in a little bit here. So the first match of the evening saw Uncle Howdy defeat Solo Sikoa, and came pretty close, and actually did get, for a moment, get the lantern back from MFTs until the rest of the MFTs attacked him and took the lantern back. A lot of people were critical of this feud just continuing to go on and on and on with no real payoff. I guess we'll have to wait and see just what they continue to do here. Then after that, you had Tiffany Stratton defeat Kairi Sane in 10 minutes, 21 seconds. And Oba Femi once again had a dominant performance. He took on The Miz and beat him in just under 5 minutes, finishing him off with the Fall from Grace movie, that kind of elevated powerbomb of his, pop-up elevation powerbomb. Then in another open challenge for the United States titles, Carmelo Hayes successfully retained over Matt Cardona in 11 minutes, 50 seconds. In another women's match, Jordan Grace defeated Candice LeRae in 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Then in a match for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, you have new champions as the team calling themselves the Irresistible Forces of Nia Jax and Lash Legend defeated the team of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Now, Rhea Ripley had already made it into the Elimination Chamber. So there was really part of the reason that they decided to take the title. Well, a couple of reasons. Two or three reasons actually why they decided to take the tag titles off Rhea and Io Sky. One opened the door for Rhea to possibly win the chamber, to possibly go after Jade Cargill. We'll find out if that's true. Also, there's been a lot of talk now of the possibility of Io Sky now getting ready to take on Julia. Now, why they had never fought each other before, their careers have had somewhat, let's say, parallel paths. As both Julia, even though they were not necessarily in Stardom at the same time, Julia and Io Sky's careers actually started in World Wonder Ring Stardom over in Japan, and they both during their heydays in that company had been one of the top stars. Io Sky had some legendary feuds with the likes of Mayu Iwatani, and Julia, of course, had some key matchups against people like Mayu Iwatani and Micah and Shuri, but these two have never actually fought each other. And this is kind of like a dream for a lot of Japanese wrestling fans, particularly Japanese female wrestling, Japanese female wrestling fans. This is kind of a dream match that they're looking at. And then, of course, let's say they did decide, particularly have Rhea pursuing the women's title. Well, they're going to probably want, because this is WrestleMania, they are going to want the women's tag titles to be defended, and they needed to have a team that could solely focus on that. So, but we'll find out if that all did eventually play out here once I get to that. But anyways, moving on, then from there, then in a match in a match between Logan Paul and Jacob Fatu to basically replace Jey Uso, who had been taken out prior to the show. Logan Paul would beat Jacob Fatu with some help, I believe, from Drew McIntyre getting involved in the match. So, so that's all from Friday Night SmackDown, as it were. So now let's move ahead to Saturday and see what happened on Saturday. There's a number of things happened on Saturday. Of course, AEW had its Collision pay-per-view. WWE, had WWE had Elimination Chamber. So we'll talk about Elimination Chamber in a moment here. Also, though, let me, as I said, I think I will start looking at AAA here because there are some WE talents that are working in AAA as well. So let's take a look at what happened on this past Saturday's AEW on Fox, which also aired on YouTube, by the way. The opening match of this past Saturday's AAA on Fox show on YouTube and on Fox Latin America saw the number one contenders match for the AAA World Cruiserweight title. Dragon Lee defeat Jack Cartwheel. 8 minutes, 17 seconds. And in the other match, in a non-title Rey de Reyes or King of Kings, a qualifying four-way match for this year. Rey of Reyes is a big tournament that they do in Mexico. El Grande Americano, the newer one, defeated El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Ethan Page, and almost to secure a spot in the I believe El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. is a champion. That's why they said it was a non-title. But so that's what happened in AAA there, and we know that Dominic Mysterio, who's the current WWE Intercontinental Champion, is also the current Mega Champion in AAA as well. So, but now let's go ahead and take a look at what happened at Elimination Chamber here. Then. Which aired on ESPN. Elimination Chamber took place from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, with Wade Barrett and Michael Cole on commentary. As in the opening match, saw the number one the women's elimination chamber match, which was the number one contendership for the women's title. Basically, the winner of the women's after Liv Morgan had decided to challenge Stephanie Bakura at WrestleMania for the women's world title. This match now became to see who would challenge Jade Cargill. And involved in the match included Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James, Kel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, with Rhea Ripley winning the match ultimately. Kiara James eliminated Alexa Bliss at 13 minutes 10 seconds. Then Raquel Rodriguez pinned and eliminated both Kiara James and Asuka. Then Tiffany Stratton hit the prettiest moonsault ever on Raquel Rodriguez to eliminate her. And then Rhea Ripley had finished the match off with the Riptide on Tiffany Stratton. So Rhea Ripley is now going to WrestleMania 42 to challenge Jade Cargill in a battle of two powerhouses in the women's division here. Then the next match saw AJ Lee defeat Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Champion. At one point, Becky Lynch had knocked out referee Jessica Carr, and had AJ Lee compromised, had a chance but couldn't get, because the ref was out, didn't necessarily see anything. But AJ Lee was eventually able to lock in the move she calls the Black Widow, which is a move that was originated by Gail Kivas de Christos submission hold. Becky Lynch, of course, now crying about it online. Then you had CM Punk successfully retain the World Heavyweight title over Finn Balor. And after the match, of course, he and Finn shook hands once again. They've been teasing a possible face turn for Balor for some time now. So, and considering that none of the other members of the Judgment Day came out at all, now before we get to the main event, which was the men's Elimination Chamber match, which was a number one contendership match to see who would next face Drew McIntyre. We had a debut maybe not one a lot of people were expecting or even wanting, but they still got it. Danhausen made his debut. It was revealed that Danhausen was the one in the crate. And of course, he came out being escorted by a troupe of female vampiric dancers, as it were. You know, so now the WWE has basically locked in a contract now and do a long-term deal. The very nice, the very evil master of the curse, Danhausen. In fact, as part of his entrance, he decided to give Michael Cole some dentures. So that got some laughs there. But the reception to Danhausen's debut was initially it went fine, but then there's a lot of online hate now being directed at it. There's, I think, not necessarily the debut that people were wanting, not the way that I think people were wanting or expecting Danhausen to make it. But it's kind of funny because it's almost like as soon as it just shows you how much WWE wanted Danhausen. As soon as the AEW contract came up, which was Saturday, which was pretty much I think the day before, maybe Friday. I think it was official that I think Friday officially he was released from his AEW contract. They took his picture off the page there. WWE was able to bring him right in, so it's gonna be interesting to see how Danhausen how Danhausen's WWE career goes. So, anyways, now the main event of the Elimination Chamber event was the men's Elimination Chamber event to see who would challenge Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, with of course Cody Rhodes, Javon Evans, LA Knight, Logan Paul, and Trick Williams and Randy Orton now all involved in the match. The match took a total of 25 minutes and seconds. Logan Paul got 3 eliminations, within the first 20 minutes or so. He eliminated Javon Evans, LA Knight, and Trick Williams. Then Cody eliminated Javon Evans after attempted, and then after when it was just down to Cody and Randy, Drew McIntyre decided to try to jump. Actually, what helped the thing also we saw another major return as there was one masked man who tried to go after Logan Paul, only to be revealed to be another kind of faker, as it were, another false guy. And then we got another masked man come in there, give a super kick and a curb stomp to Paul, and it to be revealed as Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is now officially back, it looks like. He cost Logan Paul the chance at the undisputed title, with Paul Heyman in a sheer panic over it. Then as we got down to Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre got into the ring and decided to try to interfere in the match, only for Orton and Rhodes to double team him. Rhodes eventually hit the crossroads on McIntyre, only for that to open the door for Randy Orton to hit the RKO on Cody to win the match and secure a spot at WrestleMania. there is some possible talk that they might ultimately make it a 4-way to include Cody and Jacob Fatu, as Jacob Fatu has issues with McIntyre right now. Albeit a lot of fans are not looking. We're not looking forward to a possible one-on-one, another one-on-one match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. So now with all that being said, let's go ahead now and talk about the other thing that happened, which was of course Collision. As AEW held its Collision event from the Mission Ballroom in Denver, Colorado, airing on TNT, with of course Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, and Tony Schiavone on commentary, with of course at different points in the night with Don Callis and Jon Moxley joining in on commentary as well. The opening match saw an 8-man tag match in which you saw the Death Riders of CMLL World Heavyweight Champion Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta with Marina Shafir in their corner, defeat the Don Callis family foursome of Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Trent Beretta, and Rocky Romero, with I believe Jon Moxley and Don Callis at ringside providing commentary. Then in the next match, you saw Tommaso Ciampa defeat Jay Lethal in 8 minutes 25 seconds. Jay Lethal had, of course, the swirl in his corner with which was Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. I actually need to step away from the computer for a moment, so I'll be right back. I'll put some music on God, and then when I come back, I'll be right back. Anyways, I'm back now. Sorry about that. Anyways, getting back to talking about AEW Collision, of course. In a squash match, the Brawling Birds of Jamie Hayter and Rev Pro undisputed women's British women's champion Alex Windsor defeated the team of Gypsy Mac and Tyra Rusamy. Then the Don Callis family duo of TNT champion Kyle Fletcher and international champion Kazuchika Okada defeated the team of Top Flight of Dante Darius Martin with Christopher Daniels in their corner. Tony Storm defeated Zeta Steel in that matchup, only for Marina Shafir to try to come out and for Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta to try to come out and confront Tony Storm, and for Tony Storm to remove Wheeler Yuta's beanie and expose his bald head. Then in another women's tag team match, two former AEW Women's World Champions, Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander, defeated the Sisters of Sin of Sky Blue and Julia Hart, only for the Sisters of Sin Triangle of Madness teammate Tekla, the current AEW champion, to come out and kind of berate and challenge Thunder Rosa. Planting seeds for a possible upcoming match between the two. And in the main event of the evening, Andrade El Idolo defeated Tomohiro Ishii in a one-on-one match. So that's all that happened on Saturday. So now let's move up to today and see what's going to be, what's planned for the fallout. What's planned for the fallout from Elimination Chamber is, of course, on tonight's Monday Night Raw, which will be held from the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, with Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary on Netflix. Scheduled will be Dragon Lee looks to take some revenge on Gunther for a lot of the things he's done and said about AJ Styles. And Dominic Mysterio will be defending the WWE Intercontinental title against Penta. So that's what's planned for tonight on that front. So with that, we're all caught up on the wrestling wrap-up. So now let's, with today being Monday, March the 2nd, 2026, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So let me just see. 2016, 2016, and 1996. All right. So first off, I'm going to head back to 30 years ago today, back to 1996. On this date, back in 1996, releasing in Japanese theaters, Toei Animation's Dragon Ball: The Path of Power premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1996, 30 years ago today. Dragon Ball: Path to Power is a 1996 Japanese animated fantasy martial arts adventure film and the 17th animated feature film based on Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball manga. Following the first 3 Dragon Ball films and 13 Dragon Ball Z films, and the final film in the series to use cell animation, it is an alternate retelling of the original Dragon Ball anime series, which borrows story elements from the first Dragon Ball Search and later Red Ribbon storyline. It was released in Japan on March 2nd at the Toei Anime Fair, along with the film version of Neighborhood Story. The film was produced to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the original Dragon Ball anime. It was also the last theatrically released Dragon Ball film produced up until the release of Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods in 2013. Oh, there we go with that. So 30 years ago today, Dragon Ball: The Path to Power premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1996. Now, moving ahead to the year 2005, which is, of course, 21 years ago today. On this date in the year 2005, 21 years ago today, the 555th issue of Archie went on sale on this date back in 2005. It sold for $2.19. It's 32 pages. The stories included King for a Day, That Guy, Modern Marvelous, Torrid Turtle, and Phone Fun. You see Archie and Veronica on the cover there. Archie doesn't look too comfortable there, but Veronica looks like she's having the time of her life. So 21 years ago today, the 555th issue of Archie went on sale on this date back in 2005. Now getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history here. We will be moving on to the year 2016, 10 years ago today. On this date, 10 years ago today, back in 2016, Kevin Nash announced that he will, after his death, have his brain donated to the CTE Center at Boston University and Concussion Legacy Foundation. The announcement comes on the same day that women's soccer star Brandy Chastain said she was doing the same thing. The announcements come in the wake of raised awareness of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, a neurological disorder observed in professional athletes, most often football and boxing, but other sports such as professional wrestling have suffered repeat brain trauma as well. Basically, the idea is that this has become more of a thing in the last few years because they've been seeing more and more evidence show up in like CAT scans and all that. You know, that's why you got the elevated, concussion protocols and a lot of sports, particularly in like a lot of high impact sports, like you said, football, boxing, even though pro wrestling is choreographed, they're still taking a lot of hard hits, particularly to the head. It's actually one of the things that led like some of the it's like one of the things that eventually led companies like WWE and AEW to actually ban chair shots to the head, unprotected chair shots to the head because of that. It's now also been, it's also been put out there as a possible contributing factor. CTE may have been a contributing factor to what eventually led to the tragic end of the Benoit family, Chris, Nancy, and their son. So, in fact, I know former WWE wrestler Christopher Nowinski, who's now a neurologist, from what I understand, a specialist in this area. They've even talked about how, Chris looked like he may have been showing signs of CTE, which unfortunately may have been, again, a contributing factor to what led to his end. And his wife and his and Nancy and their sons. So, and 2016 is just so nice that we're gonna hit it twice. As also on this date in the year, let me see, of course, clear this out first. Also on this date, 10 years ago today, in the year 2016, DHX Media's Looped premiered on Teletoon up in Canada. Looped is a Canadian animated television series created by Todd Kaufman and Mark Thornton, who also created Grudge Band for Teletoon. It premiered in Canada on March 2nd, 2016. It also premiered on January 4th, 2016 in Latin America on Cartoon Network and in the United Kingdom on CTV. So there you go with that. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. And this Sunday, of course, I'll be joined by Metal from the Vomitorium as we will be as he'll be joining me as we'll be continuing our look down comics history lane. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.